Hello, good evening and welcome to my humble Modderoy, Bedstead Junction. I wasn't planning on making a video tonight. I was going to go out, but I decided to stay in and do a quick celebratory video. Now, you may have seen a couple of these locomotives more recently, but I can actually emphasise a small point as well on my sort of knowledge of railways. Now, there's a celebratory video because I don't know if you saw my few short videos I made about my 440 county failing to work. In fact, it stopped working after it derailed on some points, and I could not figure out why it wouldn't go. I took it all apart, put it back together again, assumed it was the motor actually, and Barry Davis actually pointed out that it might have had something to do with the pickups, which I thank Barry for. It put me on the right track to it, as you probably might have seen in my shorter video. But actually what I did, I don't know how or why it's working, I ran a jumper wire, just touching on one of the wheels and put it to the top terminal of the motor. And the whole thing sprang into life on the rails. Now, it's been going ever since, and it's been going without the aid of the jumper wire that I used. So something must have just kicked it into life again, I just don't know. But it is working. And we don't look a gift horse in the mouth as such, I don't. And I'm going to run this little video now just as a celebration of getting my 440 county running again. Now, before we do, we'll talk about the two designs we can see of locomotive here. And you'll ask yourself, which is the most recent locomotive? Probably I will put that in one of my previous videos, but believe it or not, the most recent locomotive to be actually launched onto the Great Western Railway is the one in the far distance there, the black one, which is called a Duke Dog. A Duke Dog, an amalgamation of the Duke and the Bulldog class of locomotives. And they were launched in the mid 1930s. Yes, they were an amalgamation of two much older designs. But the locomotive you see in the foreground, which you probably would imagine is a much more modern design, was a George Jackson Churchward design that came out in the early 1900s, about 1904. Now, so it does prove that sometimes appearances can be deceptive. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get this locomotive working and running out of the station, because it was running just a minute ago. We'll just see. There we go. Sweet as a nut, look at that. That's with no jumper wire on it. I put the jumper wire onto one of the wheels on the locomotive, and sort of hold it onto the wheel, and held the wire onto the top terminal of the motor, and it just sprang into life. So it did have something to do with the pickups. It wasn't the motor, okay. So I was wrong about it being the motor. But now we're going to run this railway and just see this train and just see how we get on. Okay, so I've just noticed the track's got a bit of a kink in it there. So we'll have a quick look at that first. Yeah, there we go. I think I might be a bit straighter now. I've probably noticed that none of this is pinned down this track. So let's put the main line on. And we'll just watch her go around the tracks now. My 440 county of Devon. Here we go. It's running again. Perfect. Now, like I say, I had this completely in pieces. I had this stripped right down because Barry suggested it might have been the pickups. When I took it completely to pieces. No, the pickups were all okay. They were touching the wheels. All the wires seem to be in place, and I put it all back together again. It still wouldn't go. Scratching my head all day today. I thought, well, let's just try it. So I got a wire from one of my older controllers. Robbed the wire from that. I just sort of, like I said, I just rested one wire on the back wheel, of the locomotive. The other, or at least one of the wires about the traction tyres, and I ran the other one to the top terminal of the motor while the body was off, and he pressed, so it just went whizzing down the track. So there we go. So it proves sometimes, you know, things aren't what they seem. Okay. And later on I will be sitting down. I usually don't go to bed till very late, so I'll be probably sitting down later on and open up a can of Foster's or something just to celebrate this particular success. And for any of you out there who've had problems with locomotives like this, you've got a problem that just you don't see, you can't see what's wrong. And sometimes we go down blind alleys. I went down the blind alley ordering a new motor, which should be coming soon, but obviously I'll be keeping that as a spare now. It's not the end of the world because it didn't cost a fortune, but that's not the point. I mean, I've got a spare motor now. I did manage to get that motor from AC Models. Now the 6442 motor for this locomotive was not available anywhere the day before yesterday. I searched online all over the place, and I think it was just one place had one, but I didn't like the ordering process very much. I've got to be honest with you. It just didn't look right to me. So, or I didn't want to order it on that site. So I won't tell you which site it was. I can't remember even. But I found one eventually. 4 turned up on AC Models website. They didn't have any the day before, and suddenly they have 4 in stock. Now I'm hoping that the supply of this motor is probably alleviated, and because any of you might want to get a motor, you don't want to find yourself in the position that I did. Okay, at the time I thought I needed a motor, I just couldn't get hold of one, and now it could be that there's the supply situation going on with the lorry drivers and everything else, and things just not getting delivered. I don't know what's going on, but two of the big suppliers of model railway equipment and spares, that was Peter Spares and Lenders of Cardiff, had none of these motors in stock. But AC Models in East New Hampshire, that's where I got my my Duke Dog from. Okay, my Blackman Duke Dog. Now obviously I'm very, very happy. I'm much happier. A little bit tired because I was sort of a bit agitated yesterday over all of this. So I know it's only, it probably seems like a minor problem to a lot of people, but I think when we get something going wrong and we don't know why it won't work, and all of a sudden it does, I mean, it is a real cause of celebration, isn't it? Well, there we go. My lovely Hornby Railroad County is back on the tracks again. Beautiful. Like I say, my problem being caused by a couple of pico points, and I don't know whether or not these locomotives don't like the pico points. The points I've got up here up by the signal box are Hornby. Now the points I've got over the other side of the layout is a couple of very, very old pico points, and it makes you wonder whether it's time to actually change those points for Hornby. The other 2 locomotives you can see up there actually went over the points okay, but my 440 County derailed on that set of points there, and there's no sensible reason why it should have done that. Okay, and it also obviously caused the locomotive to malfunction temporarily. But there we go, we're whizzing around the track. And it's running, we'll keep on saying it's running fine now. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to run this one into the station in just a few moments' time. Pardon me. I'm going to have another look at our lovely little Duke Dog locomotive. Now, both of these locomotives that we see on the track now, well, the one that go around now, this is the 440 County, and the 440 Duke Dog, were both built for a particular purpose, and they were built for more lightly laid railway lines where the 460s were actually not allowed. The Great Western Railway, after the 1923 grouping, inherited a certain amount of railways, and certainly a lot of railways in Wales, there were certainly a fair few wooden viaducts about still, believe it or not, and wood was used as a material on a lot of Brunel viaducts as well, even on the Great Western. I think the Moorswater viaduct was made out of wood, and that lasted quite a number of years before it was replaced by a conventional viaduct with sort of brick arches. So, but that's why these were built, for more lightly laid lines. And certainly on the Cambrian coastline, You would have Barmouth viaducts, the longest viaducts in Britain, made out of wood. I think it might be one of the last wooden viaducts ever left now. Obviously, a lot of viaducts over the years have been either replaced by brick viaducts, or they've been infilled and they just put a massive embankment in this place. But here we go. So we're going to run this one in just a moment. Running beautifully again. And we'll just leave her there. Now, I'm just going to do a quick change of points. I'm going to try not to knock the tripod over. My usual party piece is doing that. Trying to manoeuvre my size 10 feet around this little space here. And we're going to bring her into the station. And you watch her glide in beautifully. Right, so again, as always, the feat of eye to hand coordination. I'm trying to pan the tripod and operate the controller at the same time. But we shall do our best. In she comes. Now I see it handles those points beautifully, but it won't go over the pico points. It derailed on the pico points, and that derailment is what caused it to malfunction. Okay, but there we are. We can see it in both locomotives safely in the station now. I'm going to switch on, go over to my Duke Dog, which I bought. I was looking at this for a certain amount of time, and it was the same one was on eBay for quite a certain length of time. I paid what is a recommended retail price of about 130 odd quid, I think, for it. And looking at the price of locomotives the way they're going these days, you know, you probably wouldn't have thought about paying prices like this 5 years ago. But now, with the lockdown and everything else, local prices have been going up a little bit, and I think this Duke Dog is well worth the money. It's in BR black, of course. You can see in the distance, so you can see it's early BR crest there. See it there, sort of peeping over the top of our Churchward County class. And that one was designed, the county class was Churchward, George Jackson Churchward, locomotive engineer from 1902 to 1922. And then the one that was further away, which is the Duke Dog, was actually designed by Charles Benjamin Collett. But he did use two older locomotives. I think it was the frame of a Bulldog and the boiler of a Duke. So he combined the best parts of two locomotives. Certainly which has been done in the past, and certainly with the standardisation of parts on the Great Western Railway, I think it was made possible by that standardisation. So here we go. I'm trying to get past the tripod. Quick change of points. Into reverse, and we'll see how we get on. Now the backman Duke Dog. Here we go. Away we go. Let's get the right away, and we're away. Very, very nice under control there. Both the county class by Hornby and this beautiful Duke Dog by Backman have both got tender pickups, and I'm sure that helps a lot with the continuity going over points. I mean, some of my older locomotives do sort of stutter momentarily going over some of my points, and surely extra pickups is what's actually helping in this particular instance. So, right, here we go. Let's see if we can get underway now with our beautiful Duke Dog. There we go, we're underway. And away we go. Very, very, very nice runner. One thing which this one doesn't have, it doesn't have traction tyres. whereas the Hornby County does have traction tyres. I mean, whether or not you're a fan of them or not, I mean, traction tyres are useful on some locomotives because it will if you get extra adhesion and pull far greater loads. But as you can see, this little Duke dog is handling 3 coaches on my track quite well. Now the differences between a railroad model, say by Hornby, and their more, say, upmarket models, and this kind of model, is that you will get far more detail actually on a model like the Batman Duke Dog. Okay, the railroad version of the county class, which you saw going around before, that's actually built to a particular for a particular market and a particular price. But I think they're good locomotives for anyone really. The railroad versions. You don't get a painted cab on the Hornby railroad versions, whereas on this particular one you do get a detailed cab. And this one extends right to even having the dials picked out. So you've got needles on the dials, you've got detail on the little dials as well. So they Batman have really kind of put out all the stops to give you extra detail on this locomotive. Obviously it's a lot more simpler livery possibly than the Great Western livery. You can get this in a Great Western livery too, and that would be in green. And if you want to see one of those, I think Sam's Trains actually did quite a comprehensive review on the Duke Dog. And it's putting three Hornby College coaches, which are quite right for the train. Designed by the same chief locomotive engineer, or under their stewardship at least. Okay, so that did tonight is my little celebratory run. And we're going to have a little run of a few more locomotives. I'm not going to talk about them too much tonight. We're going to see if we can get a few locomotives in. And this tonight is going to be this evening is going to be full of positivity. Obviously, I had a bit of a rant about not being able to find that X6442 motor. And I still stand by what I said in the rant, even though I was wrong about it being the motor being at fault on this particular the county class locomotive. The fact I couldn't get one for love or money anywhere. You know, in most of the common places you think of looking, was a bit of a shock really to find you suddenly couldn't find the motor for it. But it looks like they're becoming available now. Okay, so let's have a look. So we're going to run our beautiful Duke Dog in just a moment. I'm going to have a little look at probably one of the 2 trains that are over in the far corner there. Now those points which you've got over in the far station there, they've caused my my Hornby County to derail as I tried to go over those points into the siding, and after that derailment, kaput! The locomotive was dead. It just wouldn't go. Okay, and how I got it going? Well, I say got it going by running the jumper wire, but then it started running even without the jumper wire. So. I mean, whatever it was, it certainly sprung it back into life. I'm very, very happy tonight. Very, very happy indeed. So there we go. Let's get our lovely Duke Dog into the station now, and then we'll run one of our other trains, and then we'll probably call it a night. Of course, it's Saturday night, and what a better way to spend a Saturday night than getting the train set out and and have a nice little play with the trains. And here we go. So let's bring her into the station, and we'll watch her glide nicely into the station, hopefully. And once again, we'll see how this one is over the points again. We saw that in one of my previous videos, but we'll have another look. Over she goes, perfect. Look at that. Just pan round now to watch her coming into the station. And you watch her slow right down now. So I've slowed her right down to nearly a crawl. and she pulls away just nicely like that. There we go. So if you can find a Duke dog, and you know, coming in at a price you like to pay, then I'd certainly say get one. Okay, certainly get one. Now I'm going to have a quick change of points, and then we're going to have a look at another locomotive on my layout tonight, my celebratory layout run. I'm going to try to end this on less than half an hour, because you only get half an hour shooting time on this camera, and then it stops. You have to start recording again, and you've either got to do it all as parts 1 or 2, or stitch it together and do it on an editor. And my computer does take quite a long time to render a video. It works, but it takes a long time to render it. Now let's see if we can get ourselves out of this station over here. We'll zoom in on the station there. We can see an auto coach there. So that only means one thing. It's time for a 14XX. A Hornby 14XX. Now, this one here, unfortunately, we might get a bit of an uncoupling problem with it. Simply because it's got a mixture of a large Hornby decoupling and the Airfix coupling. And the Airfix coupling, the actual hook is much shorter, so they don't couple together very well. I'm going to try and change the coupling on the coach to a more conventional D-type coupling. So I've got that's the most common coupling I've got on here, or maybe a NEM pocket or something if it'll fit. Just have a look into that now. But we'll see if she goes round the actual track all right. In fact, what we'll do is we'll run her the other way round. So we'll go in what's conventionally reverse, and we'll see if it all stays together and keeps going. And we'll have a nice little look at her as well in a minute. Now, it's quite in order for this locomotive to be going backwards, because it is an auto train, and it's designed for more or less what you might call a shuttle service. Where it was actually local to me was on the Clevedon branch, which sadly closed in 1966, I believe. Went from Yatton to Clevedon, so you could have got straight off the main line at Yatton at one time, and got a train into the seaside resort of Clevedon. A very nice little resort, Clevedon. Nice pier. I think that Sir John Betjeman was very sort of sung the praises of it, let's say. He said it was probably one of the most elegant piers in England. Quite an elegant pier. All it's got is a small cafe on the end of it. It's not got loads of amusements and dodgems and stuff like Western-super-Mare Pier, but again, it's very well worth a visit. The resort of Clevedon. And of course, this locomotive, just like these, would have been going up and down the Clevedon branch at least until 1960, I think it was, when these were replaced by diesel rail cars. And unfortunately, the diesel rail cars only had a short life on the Clevedon branch, because the branch was closed in 1966. Now, Dr. Beechin, of course, was brought in to try to stem the losses on our railways, and he cut, I think, 5,000 miles of track or something, didn't he? 2,000 stations, including ones like Clevedon. And now, to get in and out of Clevedon, you've got a few roads you've got coming in and out, but now the junction for Clevedon is actually on the motorway. I can't remember whether I think it's junction 20 or 21, I think it's junction 20. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but certainly the motorway is the main way into Clevedon now. And some of the track bed remains. Now, what we're looking at here now, this little Hornby locomotive, you've probably seen it in other videos. It was one of the ones that got saved from the skip. I very often mention my Save from the Skip little trilogy of videos I think I made, where I was offered a certain amount of locomotives and rolling stock and bits and pieces by my sister, who had all this in a very, very leaky shed. It was all kept in a leaky shed, all very, very soaking wet. And I managed to save this lovely 042 tank engine by Hornby. It's from the early 2000s, so it's not like one of the more recent offerings. And I know that some of the Hornby ones did come under a lot of criticism because the traction tyres were, I think the wheel with the traction tyre wasn't actually touching the track very well. But on this particular one, you see I've got no problems with it. It's running like a beauty. And as all I did was I got the box. You can see the state of the box. I'll put it, show it in front of you now. You get your focus on it. Here we go. That's the state of the box there. Top link, that was the look, £35.99 for a locomotive. If you can get that now, brand new, eh? Hornby Railways, and the box in quite a state there. Our 2026A GWR tank locomotive, 14XX. Absolutely lovely little locomotive. Very, very glad that I've got this on my railway. And you see it's running beautiful. It run, in my opinion, this one runs at least as well as my Dapple ones. I've got a Dapple's. I've even got an Airfix one that don't run too bad either. And we might have a look at the Airfix one on another day. And then we might go on the subject of safe from the skip. We might have another look at another locomotive in a minute. And it's in fact a train set. We'll see if we've got time to do it. It'll only be a very, very, very brief look. We probably have to sign off when the camera runs out of recording time. So let's see if we can get this one into the station now. We might have trouble with the uncoupling. Oh no, it's actually gone in quite nicely. That's lovely. So we're in the station now on our little halt. We can imagine this one probably on its way to Clevedon, and people are going to have a day at the seaside. Okay, so the far locomotive. I'm going to change the points for it now. We can hear it. We can hear it making very promising noise over there. It's buzzing a little bit. Here it comes. This was a terrible runner when I first had it. You know, bear in mind it was kept in a leaky shed for all those for months or even maybe years. This was the 14XX, and this little LMS tank engine was owned by my nephews. Okay, they were bought as presents for my nephews, but obviously in this modern day and age, there's a lot of competition for people's attention, and maybe they'll come back to railways one day. They'll see sense and come back to modern railways. Okay, let's get into watch it come around the signal box now. My lovely little LMS tank engine. Something which you very often still see with different liveries in various Hornby train sets. A very, very basic locomotive. And the actual train, I mean, everything except the brake van. I mean, that was an addition added on for me for completeness. You can see it did have a bit of a stutter on the points there, but that can easily be forgiven. It won't actually go in running over points will improve as it goes on. I see what a lovely little locomotive running there. Okay, again safe from the skip. So I gave that a good cleaning, a good oiling, and everything else. And what I say about what I do with locomotives, I'm not an expert, not by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think I've ever done any soldering on a locomotive. I think it's only a matter of time before I have to do it one day to repair one. But I managed to always, if I've had a problem with locomotives, I managed to get them going in some way or another. And this one is now running. It was jerking and running horribly. And I can see now it's going quite well around the track. Very, very worthy consideration. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off now, bid you farewell, Thank you very much, and thank you for your interest. And obviously tonight I felt like getting the railway out again, because really to celebrate the fact that I've got my